Hi, my name is Dan Schaefer, and I'm narrating this presentation on behalf of the Allegheny-Blue Ridge Alliance, or ABRA. Our team includes me, ABRA's Geographic Information Systems Administrator, Rick Webb, ABRA's Executive Director, and the ABRA Board of Directors. This presentation introduces the ABRA Conservation Hub, a collaborative online GIS and information sharing program created to support effective public engagement in the environmental issues confronting the Allegheny-Blue Ridge region and surrounding areas. ABRA was founded in 2014 to protect and promote ecological integrity in the Allegheny-Blue Ridge region of Virginia and West Virginia. For the next 5 years, ABRA was primarily focused on opposition to the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, a high-capacity gas pipeline that would have bisected the heart of the remaining wild landscape in the eastern U.S. ABRA contributed to the fight against the ACP through grassroots organizing, coordination and information sharing, review and oversight of the proposed project, and legal challenges. During the years of ACP opposition, ABRA achieved effective information sharing capacity through development of the Pipeline Compliance Surveillance Initiative, or CSI. The Pipeline CSI supported review and oversight of the ACP through use of online GIS mapping to examine detailed project plans in environmental and regulatory context, and to assemble aerial and on-the-ground surveillance data. ABRA's Pipeline CSI brought a new level of public scrutiny to the proposal and the initial pipeline construction. The ACP was canceled on July 5, 2020. Dominion Energy and Duke Energy, owners of the project, cited continuing uncertainties over the restoration of various permits that were vacated by legal actions brought by ABRA allies and partners. The ABRA program has focused on 3 initiatives in the 2 years since the defeat of the ACP. First, monitoring restoration work on lands along the ACP route that were disturbed by construction before the project was terminated. Second, assisting the opposition to the Mountain Valley Pipeline by providing technical assistance and exchange of information related to the project's impacts and regulatory status. Finally, development of the ABRA Conservation Hub to maintain the analysis and information sharing capacity achieved through the Pipeline CSI and to support citizen engagement with a broader range of environmental issues confronting the Allegheny-Blue Ridge region. The Conservation Hub, like the Pipeline CSI, emphasizes the use of GIS mapping to provide details and context for land development projects and management practices that involve risk of environmental harm, as well as ecosystem preservation and restoration initiatives. Conservation Hub sites are essentially websites that provide access to online GIS maps, as well as regulatory documents and assessments related to specific projects or issues, information that is critical for effective public engagement and environmental review and oversight, and too often difficult to access and navigate. Multiple hub sites focused on individual projects or issues have been developed with ABRA's partners and allies. 13 hub sites and associated interactive maps are currently online, and more are in the planning stage. This is an example of a hub site developed for the Cranberry Spring Creek project, a proposed Monongahela National Forest project involving timber harvest and road construction in the Upper Gauley River watershed. Scrolling down provides access to project information and important project review documents. The map link provides access to an online GIS map with selectable layers for proposed project actions and environmental context. This is the interactive map for the Cranberry Spring Creek project, showing the proposed actions, including timber units, prescribed burn units, and roads. Additional layers can be selected from the menu to the right. In this case, the layer displaying critical habitat for the endangered candy darter is also selected. The Cranberry Spring Creek site is one of 7 hub sites focused on national forest management projects in the region's 3 national forests. More are planned. These national forest sites are grouped together as the National Forest Integrity Project. From this page, access is provided to Forest Service project information and documents, as well as individual hub sites for each project. A look at hub sites for some of these national forest projects offers perspective concerning the projects, the use of the data, and issues related to data access. The Greenbrier Southeast project in the Monongahela National Forest was the focus of one of the first hub sites. The Greenbrier Southeast hub site includes a listing of documents related to project review, providing a timeline for the review process, as well as links to the documents. When the Conservation Hub was initiated in 2020, the Monongahela National Forest was not routinely providing public access to GIS data layers and all review-related documents for proposed projects. After a protracted process and multiple requests, including Freedom of Information Act requests, access to GIS data and other review documents has improved. As shown on the review documents list, the West Virginia Highlands Conservancy filed an objection to the Greenbrier Southeast project in January of this year, 2022. This was shortly after stream monitoring data were obtained from the Forest Service and made available on the Hub's interactive maps. Among the issues raised in the Conservancy's objection was the failure to describe and evaluate the environmental baseline for aquatic habitat in and downstream of the project area. The Conservation Hub map for the Greenbrier Southeast project includes National Forest stream monitoring locations, the blue and white symbols, in and around the project area, and provides access to the data for the individual locations. The data include fine sediment levels measured in brook trout spawning gravel. The data for the 300-plus stream monitoring locations throughout the forest indicate that fine sediment levels for most of the streams exceed thresholds for harm to brook trout and other cold water species, and the degradation is getting worse, not better. The Conservancy was able to use the monitoring data, including the location maps, to show that stream degradation due to fine sediment is also a problem within the Greenbrier Southeast project area. The Conservancy argued that this baseline condition must be described and evaluated as part of a meaningful environmental assessment. These data plots, used in the Conservancy's objection, show fine sediment for stream monitoring locations in the Greenbrier Southeast project area in relation to detrimental effects criterion. Another proposed Forest Service project for which the Conservation Hub has facilitated access to critical information is the Upper Cheat River project, another project involving extensive timber harvest and related road use. Among the GIS data layers recently acquired from the Forest Service is stand age, which has now been obtained for the Monongahela and the George Washington Jefferson National Forests. This map for the Upper Cheat River project area combines the proposed timber cutting layers and stand age layers to depict a prospective increase in early successional forest. Additional analysis indicates that stand age for 96% of the proposed cutting units is 80 years or older. Concerns about clear-cutting of mature, recovering forest have been raised by multiple conservation groups and individuals engaged in the review process for this project. The 7 national forest projects currently included in the Hub will be maintained and updated with new information as the review process and possible project implementation proceeds, and additional Hub sites for national forest projects will be established. The following slides briefly describe some of the other Hub sites under pending or continuing development. These are some of the currently online Hub sites that will be updated and further developed in the coming year. Candy Darter Preservation and Restoration. This Hub site relates the remnant distribution of this endangered species to environmental context and proposed land management projects, providing a framework for oversight of agency responses to requirements of the Endangered Species Act. ORV use on West Virginia public lands. This Hub site addresses the environmental damage, disruption, and ongoing costs that come with off-road vehicle use, and the continuing push to allow more off-road vehicle use on state and federal public lands. Corridor H Planning and Construction. An existing Hub site focused on Corridor H in West Virginia's Canaan Valley area will be further developed to focus on extension of the route into the George Washington National Forest and Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. These are some of the sites that are in the planning stage. We expect to bring these sites online during the coming year. Central Appalachian Highlands Gas Pipelines. This Hub site will provide map data and regulatory information related to ACP restoration, MVP development, and other proposed or existing transmission and gathering pipelines in and around the Allegheny-Blue Ridge region. Land application of biosolids. Land application of wastewater treatment plant sludge and other biosolids is raising concerns about PFAS and other problematic chemicals. A Hub site will initially provide mapping for existing and proposed application locations in 2 Shenandoah Valley counties. Coal mining infrastructure affecting aquatic habitat. A new Hub site will examine state and federal oversight of surface mining operations and haul roads affecting brook trout streams and critical habitat for the endangered candy darter in the South Fork of Cherry River area. These additional planned Hub sites will require extensive analysis. Stream degradation in the National Forest. A hub site will examine the causes of chronic stream sedimentation in brook trout habitat of the Monongahela National Forest. Old Forest in the Allegheny-Blue Ridge region. This hub site will examine forest age and ecosystem integrity in the region's national forests. Implementation of the recent Executive Order on Climate Change Management and Conservation of Forests will be examined in the context of national forest plans and practice. In conclusion, ABRA's work on the Conservation Hub supports a broad range of goals related to environmental preservation and restoration in the Central Appalachian Highlands. The success of the ABRA Conservation Hub will depend upon the value of individual hub sites created and the overall contribution to positive outcomes for the regional environment. This will ultimately depend upon the engagement and support of ABRA partners and allies. Thanks for taking the time to check out our program. Any programmatic questions can be directed to Rick Webb, ABRA's Executive Director. Technical questions should be directed to Dan Schaefer, ABRA's GIS Administrator.